Hi there and welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can add an SSH key to your GitLab account. I'll be using gitlab.com for this example. Maybe you have multiple SSH keys. You have multiple servers you manage and you can't override keys. Therefore, usually you'd create a folder and add your SSH key there. I'm going to show you how you can generate an SSH key, give it a different name, and how you can use it with your GitLab. Maybe you're doing Git Pull, Git Clone, and you want to use that SSH key. You're going to see how to make it so that you can use that key. I'm already on my gitlab.com account. So if you're not already on this page, you can get here by going to Preferences and then come to SSH Keys. All right, so we are there. The next thing, let us generate the SSH key. So of course, before I start, I always say, if you're on Windows, you want to follow along without any problems, just download Git and install Git Bash. Open Git Bash on your Windows and you can do everything I'll be doing without changing any commands. If you're on Linux, of course, open your terminal. If you're on a Mac, terminal will work as well. So I'm going to Control L to clear the screen. So the first step is to generate the key, and then we're going to add the key here. So I can create a directory mkdir-p to create a directory inside of my SSH key folder. SSH, and then I can just call it GitLab. All right. So now if I'm generating a key, I'll have to keep the keys inside there. So instead of typing, let me look for the last one I did. SSH keygen -t is okay. Let's just tell it where to store the key and what to give it as the name. So -f, that is like the file name for the key. So we're going to store our key inside of this directory. Control-Shift-V, and we're going to call that key. Let's just call it GitLab 1 key. Enter. Enter, enter. All right, so the key has been generated. So the first way to use this key in this case, to log in, all you have to do is copy the path of the private key and you'll just let it know the identity of the key that you want to use. Enter. So in this case, SSH. Okay, that's because we haven't added the key to GitLab yet. Okay, I'm sorry, I always forget that. So I'm just going to add the .pub key. So if you reach there, you can just do Control-U to delete everything. And I'm going to cut the public key. And I want to copy this key into my GitLab. Come back, add the key, Control-V. And this time around, let's say I want the key to expire after 1 year, and then I'll add the key. All right, so the key has been added. So now if I try to log in like I was doing, you have to tell it the identity of the key you're using to log in. Enter. All right, you can see now I can log in if you want to log in, but normally you're not going to use this command with GitLab, are you? You're probably going to do something like SSH cloning. So let's see if I can access this. All right, this is a GitLab project. So if I want to clone it, I can copy, come back, Control-L, say I do git clone without telling it anything. Control-Shift-V to paste. This is going to fail because I'm using SSH, but the SSH key is not the default key. Okay, so if you wanted to log in, one of the quickest way to do it is to, okay, I've forgotten the command, but I can get it easily. I can just use man git and then I will search for SSH. Okay, so the command I'm looking for is this git command there. Git SSH command. Control L, Control Shift V, git SSH is equals to. So here is where you're going to tell it which key to use inside there. So we're going to log in with SSH-I, and the key I want to use is that. Copy, Control Shift V. So that's your private key. That's the private key that you're using in there. And then now you can do your git cloning. Git clone, copy, Control Shift V, enter, and this should work now. Right, there you go, confirmed. You can access and you can clone the repository. That's not it. That's not all. The last way you can do this is to create a config file, which is probably the easier way for you to achieve this. So I'm just going to Control C. I want a situation where if I run that, it should work, right? Without any issues. So to do that, I'm just going to create the SSH config file. And I will create a config file, enter. So this is here in the documentation. You don't have to think too much about it. Under generate an SSH key, you'll come here under configure SSH to point to a different directory. So there, all you just need is this. Copy that. Control Shift V to paste it in there. You want to point to the identity of your key there. So here, we're going to use the key, our private key. So I'm going to do Control Z to get out of that momentarily, and then I'll go look for my key. There is my key, my private key, and then I'm just going to type FG to bring back what I put in the background. So I'm going to delete that. I can't remember how to delete the entire line. I've forgotten that, but I'll just delete them one at a time. I to go into insert mode, and then Control Shift V. Since you're on your local computer, you can even use Visual Studio Code to edit things. You don't have to use Vim. Escape, and then Shift ZZ. Now, if I was to run Git Clone, it should work, because now we are pointing to the key. All right, confirmed. You can now access your Git. You can now clone Git repositories from gitlab.com. And if you wanted to set it up for your private repositories, you can see down here, you're just going to change the host name or the IP. Here, you'll just add your host, whether it's an IP or whichever domain you're using for your company there for your private GitLab repository. And then you'll use your private key there. Right, so that should end this video. You've seen how you can add your SSH key to your GitLab, and I was using gitlab.com for this example. A custom key stored in a different directory. You've seen how you can work with that as well. All right, that's the end of this tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. See you next time in another video.